push harder to go faster. It's more or less as simple as that. So if you're looking to improve your time in a triathlon, a 10-mile TT, or simply beat mates in a club ride, you'll be wanting to improve your power. But there's some smart ways in which you can achieve that other than simply riding hard all the time. So here's 6 ways to boost your cycling power. Now, the first port of call I head to when I'm trying to improve my own power on the bike or someone's that I'm coaching is including a contrast into their training. That means a mix of high intensity intervals, threshold work, strength work, and also that nice, easy aerobic work too. It's very easy to fall into the trap of just riding hard all the time when we're trying to improve our power on the bike. And anyone that's done that before will likely know from experience that you kind of just run out of steam and you don't actually end up hitting those high power numbers that you were hoping to in the first place. So the best method is to include a little bit of structure in your training and not forgetting to include some of those easier rides and the recovery too. And that leads me on to perhaps my favorite workout for kicking my legs into gear and getting them better at churning out this big power. That is micro bursts. And it's simply what the name suggests really. They are micro bursts of power. And we're talking literally 10 to 30 seconds in duration tops, but all out effort. Now this doesn't need to necessarily be a killer workout. It could simply be 20 seconds max effort once every 5 minutes for half an hour, for example. I used to really enjoy doing these workouts and kind of just seeing how high a power I could hit for those efforts, or 20 seconds, whatever duration you go for. It's a really good way of improving your neuromuscular function and kind of just getting your body used to hitting these high power numbers. And in turn, that's really going to help to boost your overall power on the bike. Now, aside from the training and the workouts that you're doing, it's also worth taking a look at your position on your bike. I'm talking about your saddle height here, your saddle tilt, how far forward, how far back your saddle is, your handlebar height, your aero bar height, your cleat position, you name it. Have any of these wrong and you could end up essentially fighting your position on the bike and wasting energy rather than literally putting out the best power that you really can. If you suspect that any of these are wrong for yourself or you're simply uncomfortable, I'd really advise seeking some expert advice or perhaps even getting a professional bike fit. It's also worth pointing out that just because you may be the same height as a mate of yours doesn't mean that you can just ride on the same bike or in the same position. We all have different range and mobility, and that means that we all need different positions on the bike to allow us to put out that power. For example, my saddle height is a lot lower than most people advise for me, but I know that's the best position that will allow me to put out the best power I possibly can. And then we have hills. Riding uphill is a great way to improve your muscular endurance and your power, because to ride uphill we need to ride at a good power, moderate cadence for an extended period of time, which is exactly what we're looking for today. So you can simply start by riding hills, so maybe target 1,000 feet of climbing in a single ride, and progressing to even something like 3,000 feet of climbing in a single outing. You could even take it a step further and start doing some short intervals on hills. This is probably the first point I will look to when I'm trying to improve my own power on the bike or someone else's. I'm talking short 60 to 90 seconds of really high power, high intensity, turning around at the top, descending back down to recover, doing that 5 to 6 times, and then maybe even progressing to something like 10 to 12 with time. Now, another method that we often look to improve our power on the bike as endurance athletes is something called sweet spot intervals. Now, this is an intensity or interval just below our functional threshold power, which you may have heard of before. It's a pretty big benchmark number for cyclists and triathletes. Theoretically, your functional threshold power, or FTP, is the maximum power or intensity that you can sustain for an hour. Anything above that, and you start to produce lactic acid at a faster rate than your body can remove it. So these intervals are just below your functional threshold power, which means you can actually start to rack up a serious amount of time at a pretty high intensity and high power, which gives the name sweet spot. And it's something that pro cyclists and triathletes do a heck of a lot of. Now, to do this effectively, you do need to find out your functional threshold power or functional threshold heart rate. And to do that, I mean, there's a number of methods out there, but probably the most common is a 20-minute all-out effort, and then you take 95% of your average power from that. And then for those sweet spot intervals, you're looking at 88 to 94% of that functional threshold power, or 75 to 85% of your max heart rate. And finally, we can't forget strength work, both on the bike and off the bike. For years, cyclists have used a method called overgearing, where you essentially ride in a harder gear than you ordinarily would, therefore causing you to ride with a lower cadence, which can put more stress on the muscles. It's a pretty old school approach, but I've actually found it quite beneficial for myself in the past. But also, off the bike specific strength work can be amazing for boosting your power on the bike. Initially, most athletes will benefit from simply practicing the movements, activating the correct muscles, and improving their mobility. But as you progress, you can start adding weight to that and really working on improving your power through those specific exercises. If you'd like some ideas on some of those specific exercises for cycling, we have a video on that already. I'll throw you to that just now, but you can also find the link for it in the description just down below. Well, I hope you have found that helpful today. If you've enjoyed today's video, please do give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget you can follow GTN over on our social media channels, and if you're not doing so already, give us a little subscribe just down below.